I killed my father with a single text message. Not literally, God. No. That would have been too merciful. Too quick for a man like him, but in the way that shatters a soul, strips away every illusion of legacy, and leaves you choking on your own regrets. It was the kind of revenge that doesn't need a gun or a knife. It just needs the truth. Raw and unfiltered. Delivered at the exact moment when escape seems sweetest. And as I watched his world crumble from 600 miles away, trapped in a body that wasn't mine, I felt the first real spark of freedom since the swap. My name's Gabriela Ruiz. And if you're reading this, you probably think you know what betrayal looks like. Spoiler, you don't. Not until it's your own blood handing you a life sentence on a silver platter. Then jetting off to margaritas and golf courses while you rot in a concrete cage. It started 3 years ago in the sticky heat of a Houston summer. The kind where the air feels like it's trying to suffocate you before the humidity even kicks in. That, Victor Ruiz, the silver-tongued king of Ruiz Energy, had built an empire on lies, siphoning funds from his company's pension plan to fund his mistress's plastic surgery and his own offshore accounts. But when the feds came knocking, he didn't take the fall. No. He pinned it all on me. His own daughter. The college dropout who'd been interning at the firm just to make him proud. Gabby. Baby. It's just numbers on a spreadsheet, he'd whispered in my ear the night before the audit, his breath reeking of scotch as he handed me a USB drive. Upload this ledger tweak. Fix the discrepancies. You're smart. You can handle it. I was 24. Fresh out of UT Austin with a business degree gathering dust because I believed in family loyalty more than my own gut. I did it, thinking it was a minor glitch, not the smoking gun that would land me in federal court accused of embezzlement. By the time the trial hit, the evidence was airtight. My fingerprints on the files, my login on the timestamps, my naive emails begging for guidance. Dad testified against me, his voice steady as he described how I'd confided my greed to him over family dinners. The jury ate it up. 5 years in Carswell Federal Prison. Minimum security, but soul-crushing all the same. While I traded sundresses for orange jumpsuits, Dad sold the house in River Oaks, cashed out his shares, and texted me from some beachside Marriott in Miami. Hey kiddo, closing on a condo in Naples tomorrow. Fresh start. You'll be out before you know it.
Love. Dad. No apology.
No visit. Just a thumbs-up emoji and a link to Zillow listings with ocean views. I stared at that screen in the prison rec room, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets. And something inside me snapped. Not rage. Not yet, just a cold, calculating clarity. If he could rewrite our story to save his skin, so could I. Prison's a great place to network, if you're twisted enough to see it that way. Carswell wasn't Shawshank. It was more like a sorority house run by lifers with grudges and government contracts. That's where I met Lena Voss, a former DARPA contractor doing 18 months for misappropriation of experimental tech. Lena was 62, sharp as a tack, with tattoos from her Navy days peeking out from her sleeves. She'd been part of Project Echo, a black-budget body swap program cooked up in the labs of Silicon Valley and Nevada deserts. The goal? Elite soldiers jumping into enemy skins for intel ops. But ethics board shut it down after a test subject fried his synapses mid-transfer. Lena smuggled out the prototype, a neural rig the size of a smartwatch, powered by quantum entanglement and enough lithium to light up Vegas. It's not magic, Gabby, she'd say during yard time, her voice low under the chain-link fence rattling in the wind. It's science we weren't ready for. syncs your consciousness to a duplicate brainwave pattern. Lasts 72 hours before decoherence sets in. You wake up back in your own meat suit, memories intact. But the target? They carry the echo, flashes of your rage, your plans. It's psychological napalm. I laughed it off at first. Body swapping? Sounded like sci-fi fanfic for insomniacs. But nights blurred into weeks. And that text from Dad festered like an open wound. I started quizzing Lena. How do you map a target? What if they're states away? She sketched schematics on napkins. Explained the anchor, a personal item infused with the wearer's neural signature. Dad's old Rolex. The one he'd left in my desk drawer before skipping town. I'd pawned it for commissary. But Lena had a contact on the outside, a former inmate's nephew who ran shady appraisers in Austin.
$50 via JPay.
And the watch was en route, primed for the ritual. Discharge day came like a fever dream. 5 years shaved down to 3 with good behavior, and a sympathetic judge who bought my reformed daughter act. I stepped out of Carswell into the Texas sun, squinting like a mole, with $200 gate money and Lena's rig hidden in my bra. The bus to Houston was a rattletrap of regrets, ex-cons chain-smoking menthols, swapping war stories about the lives they'd lost. Mine wasn't lost, it was stolen. Dad's trail led to Naples, Florida, a gated community called Sunset Palms, where retirees in polos bragged about stock tips and early bird specials. I rented a studio in Tampa under a fake name, Elena Voss, a nod to my mentor, and spent the first week casing his new life from afar. Victor Ruiz, post-betrayal, was living the dream. New tan, new teeth, new arm candy, a bottle blonde realtor named Tiffany who laughed at his jokes like they were stand-up gold. They'd cruise the Gulf in a leased Corvette, hitting oyster bars and charity galas for the local yacht club. I watched from a rental kayak one afternoon, paddle silent in the turquoise water, as he proposed to her on the dock, kneeling with a ring that could have paid my legal fees. The hypocrisy burned hotter than the sun on my skin. He'd framed me to protect his first marriage's alimony payments.
But now?
Untethered. Unbreakable. The swap happened on a Thursday night, the kind of sticky Florida evening where thunder rumbles without rain. I'd driven to Naples in a borrowed Honda, the rig humming against my wrist like a trapped hornet. Dad's condo was a McMansion knockoff, stucco walls, palm trees and pots. A doorbell cam I disabled with a magnet from Lena's kit. I let myself in with a cloned key fob, another $500 favor from the nephew, and hid in the guest closet until midnight. Tiffany snored softly in a master. Dad tossed in his lazy boy, Scotch glass sweating on the armrest. The anchor watch ticked on his nightstand, its face glowing faintly under the moonlight slicing through the blinds. I synced the rig, a prick of the needle, a jolt like biting a live wire, and then nothing. Blackness. Absolute and velvet. When awareness returned, it was wrong. All wrong. My hands, his hands, were thicker, veined from years of boardroom handshakes, nails manicured but yellowed from cigars. I flexed them, feeling the unfamiliar weight of a 60-year-old frame, the ache in the lower back from too many 18 holes. Heart pounding, I stumbled to the bathroom mirror. Victor Ruiz stared back, salt and pepper hair, crow's feet crinkling in confusion, hazel eyes wide with a stranger's panic. "Holy shit," I whispered, and his voice gravelly, authoritative, echoed off the marble tiles. It worked. I was him. The first 24 hours were a crash course in imposter syndrome. I woke Tiffany with coffee and a kiss on the cheek, gag, but she bought it, cooing about wedding colors while I choked down avocado toast. Dad's phone buzzed with alerts, stock trades, golf tee times, a voicemail from his broker confirming a wire transfer to the Caymans. I played the part, drawling Texas charm over calls. But inside,
Gabriela Ruiz Etez.
this body was a prison of its own: stiff joints, a paunch from room service dinners, the faint tremor in the hands from undiagnosed Parkinson's he'd ignored. But power? It coursed through like adrenaline. I accessed his emails, his bank apps, saw the paper trail he'd buried, the offshore slush fund, the payoffs to the prosecutor's cousin. Evidence he'd planted on me, now ripe for reversal. Revenge isn't a sprint, it's a slow bleed. I started small, sowing doubt. An anonymous tip to the SEC from a burner account, flagging irregularities in Ruiz Energy's residuals, traces he'd missed when he torched my career. Then, a drunken confession to Tiffany over wine. Babe, sometimes I wonder if I did right by Gabby. That trial felt off. She comforted him, me, patting my knee, but I saw the flicker in her eyes. Seed planted. By day 2, I'd charmed my way into a lunch with his old cronies at the club, dropping hints about regrettable decisions from his Houston days. Whispers spread like Spanish moss in the humidity. But the real hook was the text. I kept my old phone, the one with his Naples number saved as Dad Two Hearts, irony's bitter pill. From his study, surrounded by golf trophies and framed Forbes clippings, I drafted it in his body, fingers hovering over the screen. Hey Pops, heard about the wedding from Aunt Maria.
Congrats.
But before you say I do, one question: remember that USB drive? The one you said would fix things? Turns out, forensics can pull deleted metadata. My lawyers got it. And the emails. And the witness statements you buried. Naples is nice, but federal extradition's a bitch.
Enjoy the sun while it lasts.
Love. Your guilty daughter. I hit send at dawn, as the Gulf turned pink. No emoji this time. Just truth. Unvarnished. Then I waited, pulse thundering in his chest, for the reply that never came. Instead, his phone lit up, missed calls from his broker, a ping from the SEC's automated system. Tiffany's hesitant, everything okay?
Beak.
In the kitchen. I stepped out onto the balcony, the salt air thick, and felt it, the freeze. Not fear, but the paralysis of realization. He was me now, in some distant echo, flashing with my memories, my fury. The rig's decoherence would hit soon, but the damage? Eternal. As the sun climbed, sirens wailed in the distance, not for me, but close enough to taste justice. The swap's afterglow was a high-wire act between euphoria and existential dread. In Dad's skin, I moved through his world like a ghost in a machine, familiar routines laced with the thrill of sabotage. Breakfast with Tiffany became a masterclass in deception, her fluttering lashes over mimosa flutes, probing questions about cold feet after my late-night mutterings. Just ghosts from the past. Darlin', I'd rumble in his baritone, squeezing her hand while mentally cataloging her escape routes. She was collateral, sure, but in this game, everyone's a pawn. I'd seen enough true crime docs in prison to know, love built on lies crumbles fastest. By noon on day 2, the ripples hit tsunami levels. My phone vibrated off the nightstand with alerts from the bank, accounts frozen pending investigation. The SEC tip had been too juicy to ignore, some junior analyst in DC. Must have connected the dots to the old Ruiz energy scandal, the one I'd taken the fall for. I feigned outrage in a conference call with his lawyer, a slick Miami shark named Harlan who'd once sent me a fruit basket during trial. This is bullshit. Harlan. Smear campaign from disgruntled exes. I barked, pacing the condo's lanai, the Everglades haze blurring the horizon. Harlan promised injunctions, but his voice had that oily hesitation, the kind that screams billable hours incoming.
Truth was,
I'd layered the tip with precision. Not just flags, but attachments, scanned affidavits from Lena's contacts, forged just enough to pass muster, linking Dad's Naples LLC to the Houston fraud. It painted him as a serial schemer,
not a one-off fall guy.
And me, the innocent daughter, railroaded by paternal ambition. Poetic, right? As the calls piled up, I slipped out for a walk, actually a detour to the local library's public PC. There, under VPN cover, I emailed my parole officer a bombshell, new evidence exonerating Gabriela Ruiz. Request immediate review. Attached, the same files, anonymized. If the feds bit, my record could flip from felon to victim overnight. But revenge isn't clean, it's a feedback loop of moral rot. Wearing Dad's face meant wearing his sins too, the leers from club waitstaff who remembered his tips, the pitying nods from neighbors who'd heard the troubled family rumors. At the Sunset Palms HOA meeting that evening, I sat in his reserved seat, nursing a club soda while busybodies dissected the agenda. Victor, you look peaked, clucked Mrs.
Hargrove,
her pearls clacking like judgmental castanets. Everything all right with that SEC nonsense? I forced a chuckle, the sound foreign in my throat. Water under the bridge. Evelyn. Just haters. But inside, Gabriela screamed, Tell them how he sold me out for a condo and a trophy wife. The real tension coiled at night, when solitude stripped the masks. Alone in the guest room, Tiffany crashed early. Blaming wedding stress, I'd strip to boxers that hung loose on this aging frame and confront the mirror.
His eyes.
My rage. How long could I sustain the charade? The rig's timer ticked in my mind, 48 hours down. 24 to go. Lena's warnings echoed. Prolonged exposure risks bleed over. Neural echoes, where you start forgetting whose memories are whose. Already. Flashes intruded. Dad's first kill. Not literal but metaphorical. The rival exec he'd blackmailed into suicide with leaked affair pics. Or the night he'd caught me shoplifting candy at 12. Not scolding but coaching. Smart girls cover tracks.
Gabby.
Was that nurture or poison? The line blurred. And I hated how it humanized him. Made the revenge feel personal. Necessary. But laced with the ache of what-ifs. Tiffany sensed the shift. Over dinner, grilled mahi-mahi from some fusion spot, she cornered me. Vic.
Talk to me.
You've been distant since that text from Gabby. Is it her? The past catching up? Her blue eyes, artificially wide from Botox, searched his face, my face, for cracks. I leaned back, swirling Cabernet in a stemless glass, weighing the controversial pivot. Betray the betrayer twice over? Leaked to his fiancée the one secret he'd buried deeper than the fraud. Mom's accident. Not the car crash the obit claimed, but the pills he'd slipped into her wine after she threatened divorce over his affairs. Manslaughter. Covered as grief. I'd found the coroner's report in his safe years ago. Dismissed it as paranoia.
Now, ammo.
It's complicated. Tiff, I said. voice dropping to that confessional timbre he reserved for manipulations.
Gabby.
She knows things. About Elena. The night she died. Tiffany's fork paused midair, mahi flaking onto her plate. Your first wife? Vic. That was ruled accidental. You said, I said what I had to. I cut in, leaning forward, letting his charisma do the heavy lifting. But the truth? Elena was unstable. Confrontational.
I
Helped her along. Pills in the Riesling. She was suffering.
Tiff.
Mercy. The words hung. Controversial as hell. Euthanasia or murder. Gray area for a jury. But lethal for a trust fund bride-to-be. Tiffany's face drained. Not of color, but certainty. You're joking. Right? I held her gaze. His hazel eyes unblinking. Wish I was. Gabby's digging it up now. Wedding's off if it breaks. She bolted to the bathroom, retching echoes down the hall. I didn't follow. Instead, I texted Harlan from Dad's phone. Pull the plug on Naples' deal. Personal reasons.
Then,
To Aunt Maria, the family gossip who'd spilled about the proposal. Tell the cousins. Dad's confessing everything. Starting with Mom. Viral within hours. The Ruiz diaspora igniting group chats from Houston to LA. By midnight, his sister called. Voice shrill. Victor. What the hell? Murder? You framing yourself now. I hung up mid-sentence. The power intoxicating. This wasn't just payback, it was resurrection. Gabriela Ruiz. Rising from the ashes he'd lit. But dawn brought the twist's first whisper. A knock at the door. Feds?
no.
Tiffany. Packed bags in tow. Eyes red-rimmed. I called a car. We're done.
Beak.
And I talked to your daughter.
She.
She sounded broken. Said you'd explain. My blood iced. Gabby's number?
How?
Then it hit, the echo. The rigs bleed. Carrying my voice, her voice, across the ether.
Dad.
In his own body wherever he'd bolted to, a panic room safe house. I'd guess. Glimpsing my plans. Fighting back. The swap wasn't one way, it was war. As Tiffany's taillights faded down the Palm Line Drive, I felt the decoherence tug, a vertigo spin. Like the world tilting on its axis. Time was up. But the real unraveling? That came later. In the mirror's final stare down. The pullback hit like a freight train derailing in slow motion. 1 minute. I was Victor Ruiz, unraveling his empire from the inside. The next. The condo's balcony warped. Colors bleeding into static. And I was gasping on a Tampa motel bed. Back in my own skin, 27 now. Lean from prison yoga. Scarred from the swap's neural static. The rig lay inert on the nightstand. Its LED dead. But my head throbbed with afterimages. Dad's Scotch burn. Tiffany's perfume. The Fed sirens growing louder. 3 days gone in a blink. Yet the world had shifted. My phone, real one, exploded with notifications. News alerts headlining, Ruiz Energy founder faces fraud rep robe, voicemails from reporters sniffing my exoneration angle, a text from my parole officer. Immediate hearing scheduled. Come in tomorrow. I drove to Naples at dawn. The Honda's AC wheezing against the heat, pulse sinking to the radio's classic rock, Springsteen wailing about ghosts in the heartland. Sunset Palms was a circus, yellow tape fluttering like party streamers, suits from the FBI milling the driveway, neighbors in bathrobes clutching coffees and outrage. Dad's condo swarmed with techs dusting for prints, but he was gone, vanished like a bad debt. Harlan the lawyer stood on the lawn. Ty Askew, spotting me through the chain link. Gabriella? Christ.
Kid.
Timing's everything. Your tip-off. It's biblical. He briefed me in hushed tones. The SEC raid at 6 a.m., Dad's confession emails, my plants, triggering a manhunt. And the kicker, Tiffany's 911 call about the Elinas' death ramble. Manslaughter charges pending. Vindication tasted like bile. I should have danced in the street, but the echo lingered, a psychic hangover of his panic. His pleas flickering in my periphery. Gabby. Stop. It was for us. Bullshit whispers from the rig's residue. Or real. Lena had warned of cross-contamination, thoughts bleeding like ink in water. As I signed statements for the agents, yes, I'd upload the full files, no. I hadn't seen Dad. I felt eyes on me. Not paranoia. Intuition. He was close. Scheming his counter. The hearing was a farce wrapped in bureaucracy. Federal courthouse in Tampa. All marble and metal detectors. Where my lawyer, pro bono from a women's advocacy group, paraded the evidence like a victory lap. The judge, a no-nonsense Latina with a stare that could curdle milk, reviewed the metadata dumps, timestamps proving my logins were remote accessed from Dad's IP. Witness recants bought with his hush money. MS. Ruiz, she intoned. Gavel hovering. The court finds credible grounds for dismissal. You're free.
And.
I'm sorry. Applause from the gallery, activists, reporters, Aunt Maria dabbing tears.
Outside.
Flashes popped like gunfire. Questions hailing. Did he confess to your mother's death? Revenge or redemption?
Redemption? Ha.
That night, in a halfway house bunk, I dreamed in dual perspectives, my trial 3 years back. His gavel falling, then his cuffs snapping on some rainy tarmac. Woke sweating. The rig's ghost humming. Controversial decision time. Pursue him, or let the system grind. The former screamed vigilante justice, kidnap, expose, maybe worse. The latter, coward's peace, debating if blood ties severed cleanly. I chose the edge. Texting Harlan from a burner, tell Vic, I know about the safe house and the keys. Come clean. Or I drop Mom's talks report to CNN. He bit within hours. Meet at a dive bar off US 1. The kind with peeling formica and locals nursing buds at noon. I arrived early. Glock borrowed from a ex-con contact tucked in my waistband. Insurance. Not intent. Dad slunk in at twilight. Gaunt in a windbreaker. Salt hair slicked back like he was still closing deals. Gabby, he croaked, sliding into the booth. Eyes darting like a cornered possum. The swap.
How?
You look. Haunted. Up close. The echo hit bidirectional. Flashes of his terror mirroring mine. A feedback loop of familial rot. We talked, or monologued, for hours. The bar's jukebox crooning Johnny Cash laments. He spun it paternal. The fraud was survival.
Kid.
Elena's debts. Your tuition. I took the hit to shield you.
Lies.
But laced with half-truths, the pills for her cancer pain. Not malice. The frame job to force me into tough love, forging resilience. I countered with fire. The lost years, the shank scars from a prison beef, the therapy sessions unpacking daddy issues. You moved to Florida without a backward glance. Texted like it was a vacation update. That's not love. That's erasure. The climax brewed in the parking lot. gravel crunching under our boots, the Gulf's salt wind whipping lies into silence. He begged, drop it. Plea deals in play, 5 years. Maybe less. We rebuild. Ruiz legacy. Controversial fork, forgive for family, or torch it all. My hand grazed the Glock. Heart hammering. Then the twist, the real gut punch. Courtesy of the Riggs bleed. A memory surfaced. Not his. Not mine. Our shared sin. The night of the fraud. Post-upload. He'd caught me skimming too, not much. Petty cash for student loans, but enough. Partners in crime. Gabby. He'd toasted. Clinking glasses.
Idefurguten.
Repressed. But the feds? They'd find it. Echoes don't lie, they expose. You knew, I whispered. The reversal crashing like waves. He hadn't framed an innocent. He'd covered for a willing accomplice, letting me take the full blast to buy time. We both did it. His nod was defeat. Eyes wet. Thought it'd break you clean. Make you stronger. Debatable mercy, tough love, or calculated cruelty. The ending hung. I could walk. Let him rot. Claim full victimhood. Or confess. Split the sentence. Salvage a fractured bond. Sirens wailed distant. His tale? Mine?
I chose ambiguïté?
The American way. Gray justice. Handed him the rig.
Half charged.
Swap back if you dare. Feel my side. He pocketed it, vanishing into the mangroves. Feds nabbed him 2 days later in Marathon. Talks report leaking nationwide. I got a book deal. TED Talk invites. But the debates rage online, villain or survivor. Dad does 3 years in a white-collar camp. Writes letters I half-read. Sometimes, in quiet Florida nights, I wonder if he swapped again. Echoes of Gabriella and Victor. Plotting round 2. Forgiveness?
Nah.
But understanding? That's the cruelest revenge. It leaves you frozen, debating the thaw.